Hey, it's Freiburger, and I'm about to show you a sample episode of a show that we do on MotorTrendOnDemand.com that's called Roadkill Extra. It shows up every single weekday. It's got stuff like outtakes from shows, behind-the-scenes stuff, tech tips, you name it. You can see them all with a free trial at MotorTrendOnDemand.com. This is Freiburger, and I'm here to tell you about this old truck, which surprisingly is pretty well known because I had it when I was the editor of Four Wheel and Off-Road magazine, and it was in a few articles. It was on the cover of 4x4 Power magazine, and a lot of people really glommed onto it because at the time people were not really into the, patina look or the patch it together and make it run kind of look, and so it was very memorable. And we were just talking earlier today and realizing that I probably owned this thing somewhere between 17 and 20 years. I don't remember exactly when. And I went on a ton of adventures in it, just personal trips, drove it all over the Southwest. And I guess it sort of toughened me up. It's one of the things that made me realize you can just have that kind of fun in an old car. But roughly 4 years ago, I sold it. And it was just one of those things where it's like, I have too much junk. I haven't driven it in 3 years. I need to pedal and get it out of the way. And so I sold it to this guy here in Arizona, and for an upcoming episode of Roadkill Garage, we came here to actually visit my old truck in another 65 F250 4x4. So let's talk about what this thing is. Its title is a 1965 Ford F250 4x4, but the story from the guy I bought it from in the 90s for $800 is that he had rolled it on a freeway on-ramp. And after that, he had just put a new engine in it and the chassis was good and everything else, and I guess the bed is original to the truck, but he replaced the cab and the fenders and everything else. And one of the reasons that you know that is, first of all, this isn't 65 side trim, as we learned by looking at our other 65, and these fenders are clearly off a heavier duty truck because they have a larger fender opening here than a regular like F250 or F100, which has an extra about that much of metal and a body line right here instead. I always thought that was kind of cool. When I had this truck, I had Q78s on it. I had the old buckshot mudder tires. They were super, super cool, but they were dry rotted, and so it's got some new meats on it now. One of the things I always really dug about the truck was this ladder rack. People said, take that thing off, it's ugly or whatever, but this was super handy. You could put a piece of plywood up here and camp on the thing, just get a thermarest and a bed. It was really great. It was also good for throwing a tarp over it to make a tent when you were camping. And I used this thing to go to the swap meet quite a bit selling parts, and I would always tie things down with this. So inside, if you want to shoot through here, I'll walk around on the other side. When I had it, there was a Saddleman seat cover, one of those old horse blanket kind of seat covers on it. That's been changed. Other than that, everything in here is pretty much original to when I had it, except for the fuzzy dice and that tack. I had a different tack on there. The dash was butchered here when I got it, and so I made this plate to put the stereo in it. I installed these autometer gauges. I always remember this thing having this B&M T handle on the shift knob instead of the old round knob. That was always kind of a cool feel. And look, I, for some reason, had this koozie on here for camping, and here it is 4 years later, still there with the truck. And everything about this is just nostalgic for me, including this switch right here, which is for the heater fan. Whole thing's cool. I remember putting in this rubber floor mat, and up here in the top in Four Wheel and Off-Road magazine, I did a story one time with this sound deadening mat where I took a decibel meter and I drove the thing like at 60 miles an hour on a given street and measured the sound inside the thing, and then put all this on there, and I think it's also inside the doors, and did it again, and it actually quieted it down just a little bit. This thing is super silent compared to our other truck. It's an FE that normally would have broken exhaust manifolds, but this one not broken. I remember replacing one on the side. Let me see if I can even get the hood open. The hood opening technique has changed since I got it because it has different hood hinges, but I think we can get it done. Yes, we can. So the guy I bought this from had swapped in this 390 big block Ford. These trucks would have come with a 352 FE with a 2-barrel, but the 390 was swapped into it, and man, it still runs really good. I put this DUI in it, which is a GM HEI distributor converted for use in the Ford FE. And I'm trying to remember what else I might have done to this thing. It had a carburetor on it that was complete junk, and the new owners put on one of those Holley off-road Avengers, truck Avengers, that's much better. It's interesting that the battery is here on the firewall. I think that's probably something from the heavier duty truck cab, because normally in this era truck it would be in the passenger floor. Also something that I just learned the other day. Listen to the echo. Echo! Echo! You don't get that with new vehicles. So anyway, that is just a look-see at my old 65 Ford F250 4x4. I really miss the thing, but you will see it in a future episode of Roadkill Garage. If you need more Roadkill Extra, go sign up right now.